All right. Pick up from we left off in the Holy Quran, Divinely Prepared by Noble Drew Ali, chapter 33, dealing with gratitude. As the branches of a tree return their sap to the root from whence it arose, as a river poureth its streams to the sea, whence, let me let everybody. I'm about to start that over. Let me let these people in. Let's see this. All right, salam, everybody. That just tapped in.
Wow.
All right, let's start it back from the top. Chapter 33, dealing with the holy instructions from the prophet, dealing with gratitude. As the branches of a tree return their sap to the root, from whence it arose, as a river poureth its streams to the sea, whence the spring was supplied. So the heart of grateful man delighteth in the returneth a benefit received. He acknowledged his obligation with cheerfulness. He looketh on his benefactor with love and esteem. And if to return it be not in his power, he nourisheth the memory of it in his breast with kindness. He forgetteth it not all the days of his life. The heart of a grateful man is like the clouds of heaven, which drop upon the earth, fruits, herbage, and flowers. But the heart of the ungrateful is like a desert of sand, which swalloweth with greediness, and showers that fall, and burieth them in his bosom, and produceth nothing. Envy not thy benefactor, neither strive to conceal the benefit he hath conferred, for though to oblige is better than to be obliged. Though the act of generosity commandeth admiration, yet humility touches the heart and is amiable on the sight both of Allah and man. But receive not a favor from the hand of the proud. To the selfish and avaricious have no obligation. The vanity of pride shall expose thee to shame. The greediness of avarice shall never be satisfied. Gratitude. So what stood out for me in this chapter the heart of the grateful man is like the clouds of heaven which drop upon the earth, fruits, herbage, and flowers. But the heart of the ungrateful is like a desert of sand which swalloweth with greediness that showers that fall, and burieth them in his bosom, and produceth nothing. That stood out. You know, gratefulness is equivalent to fruits, herbage, and flowers. So that's dealing with, you know, things blossoming. If you're grateful, and you know, people see that you're grateful, 9 times out of 10, they'll come back and mess with you, come back and, you know, willing to support you, willing to help you plant seeds that you couldn't plant at the time. Another thing that stood out for me is he acknowledged his obligation with cheerfulness. He looketh on his benefactor with love and esteem. That stood out for me. You know, you gotta love the benefactors because that's the future. You know? Line 6 stood out to me, but receive not a favor from the hand of the proud. So somebody give you something with a cocky demeanor, and oh yeah, man, here, take it. It's not, they're giving for selfish reasons, just to look good. Right? That stood out to me.
Right. It's not from the heart. Not from the heart space.
Right. Anything stood out to anybody else? All right. We'll transition to some important review. All right. So police officers can only ask for your identification when an investigation is underway, and you are part of it. Therefore, when they hinder you, they are saying that you are under investigation. Their car lights and sirens are to only go off if there's an investigation. Therefore, they must identify to you the investigation and your part in it. This is why you ask them, what is their probable cause? I knew someone who was hindered from their travels, and they asked the cop, acronym constable on patrol, for their probable cause. First, they will hesitate. Let's face it, they are not used to you asking them that. They were in a shore town during off season. The cop said there were break-ins in people's houses to steal their televisions, and that they were being done by boat. Well, the person was just entering the foot of the bridge to go out of the town, nowhere near the shoreline where the boats would dock. They were not in a boat or near a boat or going in the direction of a boat. In fact, they were going in the opposite direction of the boat, therefore, an opposite direction of what supposedly was being investigated. Clearly, they were not the object or subject of such investigation. They were able to part their way with no occurrence. Illegal search. If they ask, do you mind if they search the car? Say no. You cannot search without a search warrant. If you pay attention, they always ask if you mind. They know they have to get your consent. Usually, people agree to the search out of fear or from the fact that they see them as the authority. However, they are with bounds, limits, and protocols because they are for the purpose of upholding law, keeping the peace, protecting the citizens, and preserving the rights of the people. Case law, Owen versus Independence. Officers of the court have no immunity when violating the constitutional right from liability. They are deemed to know law. Hofsomer versus Hayes. The courts are not bound by any officer's interpretation of law under which he presumes to act. Right? The law is the law. He or she could be interpreting the law wrong. So the measure is the measure. You will find if you speak in an intelligent tone and ask intelligent questions according to law, you will get a different response. You must remain within the bounds of law at all times. Some patrolmen are actually private security guards for corporations, not to be confused with police officers, because a police officer is an elected official. Thus, most of those who hinder you are not police officers. They are policy enforcers for private corporations, making them privately armed security guards. It is not the duty of the police to protect you. Their job is to protect the corporation and arrest the code breakers. Sapp versus Tallahassee. Thus, they are feigning as law enforcers and will actually say to you, I will tell you why I'm stopping you after you show me identification, driver's license, registration, etc. That is not the lawful order. Besides, a driver's license is not identification. And you have the right or liberty to travel upon the roads without it. It is an instrument for use in commercial activity. Murdoch versus Penn. No state shall convert a liberty into a privilege, license it, and attach a fee to it. Shuttlesworth versus Birmingham. If the state converts a liberty into a privilege, the citizen can engage in the right with impunity. They can only monitor those who are participating in commerce. This means they have to first prove that you are doing commerce. Going to the corner store, the market, or to visit the friend is not commerce. The license instrument comes under administrative law and must be identified as to who it is for. The Division of Motor Vehicles is an agency that works on policies and statutes that are not law, although they tell you it is law. Case law. A judge ceases to sit as a judicial officer because the governing principle of administrative law provides that courts are prohibited from substituting their evidence, testimony, record arguments, and rationale for that of the agency. Additionally, courts are prohibited from substituting their judgment for that of the agency. Courts in administrative issues are prohibited from even listening to or hearing arguments, presentation, or rationale. You can also say to them, with all due respect, you are breaking the law, and I do not wish to participate in breaking the law with you. You may not be able to get the effect on the spot from the policy enforcer. They will probably find a pseudo reason to give you a ticket, summons, or suit. It is more and more clear that they are the one who is breaking the law. This is why it is imperative that you start suing or countersuing. The ticket, a suit, so counter it. Usually, they will give you a court date for the ticket, summons, suit. Now, there are a few ways to do it. Send the ticket back within 3 days to the court via certified mail and mark in large letters, no plea, on the back, which means you are not pleading to their jurisdiction. You may get a notice that it is being referred to the superior court, which says your not guilty plea has been entered. So you send them a writ of error to correct them, saying you put in a not guilty plea when you did not. This is coming from possibly Interim Centralized Infractions Bureau or something like that. Different, in different states call something different. When the superior court receives it, they will send you a notification of the court date, which will also reflect that you made a not guilty plea. So you send them a writ of error as well to correct that you have not made a plea. Also send a writ of discovery to the superior court asking for delegation of authority, requesting any information you need to prepare a proper defense for yourself, including names and bond numbers of officers of the court, etc. This is being done because some of the superior courts are in fact not superior court. They are administrative courts who have changed their name to superior court. You ask for the delegation of authority to determine what they can and cannot do and exactly what their jurisdiction entails. You will find that it does not include traffic court, as there is no such thing as traffic court. right? That's not mentioned in the Constitution. Traffic court. And we know traffic means commercial, so commercial court. If any court proceeds with traffic court, they have no delegation of authority as it does not exist, and they are violating their oath of office, warring against the people, and committing treason. U.S. versus Will. When a judge acts where he or she does not have jurisdiction to act, the judge is engaged in an act or acts of treason. Copper versus Aaron. No state legislator or executive or judicial officer can war against the Constitution without violating his undertaking to support it. Boyd versus U.S. The court is to protect against any encroachment of constitutionality, secure liberties. Marbury versus Madison. The Constitution of these United States is a supreme law of the land, and any law is repugnant to the Constitution is null and void of law. At this point, the Superior Court really wants to get rid of it. They may call you into court to negotiate because they want finance from you. They even say that they want to make a deal with you as if you are on a game show. Once you are not willing to negotiate, they set up a quote unquote trial date. Clearly, this is a pseudo trial. They will not call you in to pick a jury. They will not have a jury, let alone have a jury of your peers. Jury of your peers, keep that in mind, jury of your peers. U.S. citizens aren't jury of your peers. In going to trial, you would demand a trial by jury of your peers in line with your constitutionality secure rights. However, you cannot have a trial without an injured party. You cannot, as a matter of due process of law, even be called or summoned into a court or tribunal without having an injured party. The injured party is the accuser, and he or she must squarely and surely identify you as accused. The accused, you, has either committed an injury to a body, corpus delicti, or injured party, or have breached a contract. If so, then the accuser, injured party, must be present, and the contract must also be placed as evidence for review. The accuser, injured party, must put the judicial machinery into action by first writing a sworn affidavit that states the injuries that were committed. Then the summons comes and it must be signed by an Article 3 judge, which states that the matter has been duly investigated and probable cause for such summons and or warrant is justified. See the Fourth Amendment, which we went over last week. These are all matters of due process of law. And if one of these elements are missing and or corrupted in any way, the entire matter must be dismissed. The Seventh Amendment, or the Seventh Bill of Rights. In suits at common law, where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved. So these pseudo tickets, they clearly more than $20. And when they say go to trial, typically it's just, one cop, no jury, right? Violation. You may return to court, stand your lawful position. Well, let me run that back. I think I didn't finish that. In suits at common law where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved. And no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any other court, in any court of the United States, than according to the rules of common law. Common law. Common law. Dealing with Constitution and treaty. Seventh Amendment. Suits at common law. Re-examined according to the rules of common law. You see common law, Constitution, treaty. You may return to court to stay in your lawful position, as they may attempt a so-called trial with a police officer as the only witness. Note, you were always an alleged defendant, never refer to yourself as a defendant. The magistrate, who usually acts unlawfully, upon recognizing that you know your rights, will ask if you want to nolo contendo, wherein you contend not appeal his judgment, and go before a lawful Article 3 judge instead of him, who is a magistrate. Yes, that is right. They actually say that. They know they are a magistrate and must admit it once you have proved it. It is important that you fill out the form for the nolo contendo right there on the spot before leaving. Because for one, you have a certain amount of days, 5 or so, to submit it, or else it will be closed. If you mail it to them, you ought not trust that they will process it correctly and in time, etc. Once they close it, you must reopen it and pay the fee. In the end, it usually gets thrown out because the Article 3 judge knows that he ceases to sit as a judge, the non-Article 3 judge. And he has no judicial power if he takes testimony, rationale, etc. from an agency or regarding an agency of which traffic is an agency. Its policies are administerial and unconstitutional. There is only civil court and criminal court. Traffic court is a farce. Remember, traffic is, when you look up traffic in the law dictionary, we all should know what it says by now.
Commerce.
Commerce, which is the short word for commerce would be, commerce is short for commercial. All right. So it has already been determined by the Supreme Court as unlawful. However, if the people still answer to it, then they give life to it. An old Roman maxim applies. He who would be deceived, let him. Right? Ministerial officers are incompetent to receive grants of judicial power from the legislator. Their acts in attempting to exercise such powers are necessarily nullities, or null and void. Burns versus Supp. Identification. Proof of identity. The providing that a person, subject, or article before the court is the very same that he or it is alleged, charged, or reputed to be, as where a witness recognized the prisoner as the same person whom he saw committing the crime, or where handwriting, stolen goods, counterfeit coins, etc. are recognized as the same, which once passed under the observation of the person identifying him. The requirement of identification as a condition precedent to admissibility is satisfied by the evidence sufficient to support a finding that the matter in question is what is purported claims. Therefore, you can produce corroborating witnesses, at least 3, as proof that you are who you say you are. So you pull up with the state body, they're gonna corroborate that you're the Moor, right? Not the straw. And then we just covered in the beginning when we popped this off that the driver's license wouldn't be considered ID. And we already know Department of Justice Criminal Resource Manual 1508. That corresponds to Title 18, United States codes dealing with, ID. And what is considered ID? The only thing considered ID is national ID. Everything else is not considered ID. Birth certificate, driver's license, any instruments from the DMV. All right. Any questions on that? Even though this should be, everybody should kind of be on this, but it's good to keep this in the forefront. Any questions on that? I know there's a couple people that's in here that may be new. No questions, thoughts, anything?
Why is it have to be 3 witnesses and minimum?
It really could be 2, actually, because same thing like with your affidavit when you declare, it's 2 witnesses on there, right? It's kind of the same principle, people outside of yourself cooperating with, what you're doing. I know they're saying 3 on here, but I've read that the minimum of 2 actually suffice.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, but 3 doesn't, 3 don't. 4, 5.
Yep, 170 brought 70 something.
Hey, yeah, I got 100 people right here saying I'm mafia. All right. So I want to jump back into the Quran and tie this into another piece. And let's go to chapter 45. Okay. So we're going to jump into chapter 45 and chapter 47. And we'll analyze this. All right. So the fallen sons and daughters of the Asiatic nation of North America need to learn to love instead of hate and to know their higher self and lower self. This is the uniting of the Holy Quran of Mecca for teaching and instructing all Moorish Americans. So before we move on, we're off top. He's saying the circle 7. Please mute. Thank you. So before we move forward, we're seeing that he's connecting this divinely prepared circle 7 Holy Quran with the Holy Quran of Mecca. All right. The key of civilization was and is in the hands of the Asiatic nations. The Moorish, who were ancient Moabites and the founders of the holy city of Mecca. The Egyptians, who were the Hammatites and of direct descendant of Mizraim. The Arabians, the seed of Hagar, Japanese and Chinese. The Hindus of India, the descendants of the ancient Canaanites, Hittites, and Moabites of the land of Canaan. The Asiatic nations of North, South, and Central America, the Moorish Americans and Mexicans, of North America, Brazilians, Argentinians, and Chileans in South America, Colombians, Nicaraguans, and the natives of San Salvador in Central America, etc. All of these are Muslims. The Turks are the true descendants of Hagar, who were the chief protectors of the Islamic creed of Mecca, beginning from Muhammad I, the founder of the Uniting of Islam, by the command of the great universal Allah. So they're telling you Muhammad I was a Turk. And we know Turks are Moors, because they're actually using the term Turks before it was any Turkey. There was no landmass called Turkey, but it was Turks. And those are Moors. So let's transition to 47. Egypt, which we know is a modern term dealing with Mizraim and Hekupta. But once again, he was talking to our people at a very low state. Egypt, the capital empire of the Dominion of Africa. We're going to get into what Africa is right now. Egypt, the capital empire of the Dominion of Africa. The inhabitants of Africa are the descendants of the ancient Canaanites from the land of Canaan. Old man Kush and his family are the first inhabitants of Africa who came from the land of Canaan. His father Ham and his family were second. Then came the word Ethiopia, which means the demarcation line of the dominion of Amexem. And when he speaks of Amexem, he's saying Amexem, the first true and divine name of Africa. So he's telling you it's not Africa. He's telling you he's slow walking these people. He's telling you it's Amexem and not Africa, but he's going to continue to say Africa for the people he was talking to, slow walking them. But he told him it's Amexem. The dividing of the land between father and son. The dominion of Kush, which is Ham's son. So we're going to talk about what his dominions is. Northeast and Southeast Africa, and Northwest and Southwest was his father's dominion. So Northwest Africa was the father's dominion. Northeast and Southeast was the son's dominion. In later years, many of their brethren from Asia and the Holy Lands joined them. The Moabites from land of Moab, who received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit Northwest Africa. They were the founders and are the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire, with their Canaanite, Hittite, and Amorite brethren who sojourned from the land of Canaan, seeking new homes. Their dominion and inhabitation extended from Northeast and Southwest Africa across the Great Atlantis, even into the present North, South, and Central America, and also Mexico and the Atlantis Islands before the Great Earthquake. So let's stop right here. Let's stop right there. And let's take a look at this. So he already told you it's a Mexim. He's just saying Africa because our people, like I say, it was new information. So we slow walking them, but he told you it was a Mexim. So if Ham, which is the father, Kush, which is the son, this is Ethiopia right here. This arrow is Ethiopia. The demarcation line separating the land of the father, land of the son. the demarcation line. This is Ethiopia. I'm going up Ethiopia right now. I'm going down Ethiopia right now. Ham is the father. So clearly northwest. Before I get into that, northwest Amexem, loosely referred to as Northwest Africa. So this Northwest Africa, Southwest Africa. But he told you it was Amexem. So America is Africa. He's telling you we're in Africa right now. We're just in Northwest Africa. But it's really Amexem. No, he told you it's Amexem. But you want to talk Africa talk, we're in Northwest Africa. The son had jurisdiction of Northeast Africa, but he told you it's Amexem, right? So now, clearly, if this is the father's side, the father was before the son, right? All right. So this is the old world. This will be where the father jurisdiction, then the son over here. So we was clearly here first, or this will be the older side of the world where we're at. Then we expanded. So I want to open the floor for thoughts, questions. Islam.
Islam. I wanted to point out how our holy and divine prophet, how he just structured chapter 47 to let us know off top that this is the Moroccan Empire. There was no kingdom in the script. There was no kingdom around calling themselves Moroccan Empire, kingdom at the time. He just made it very, very, very clear for, new Moors and wise Moors that's coming in to never, make that a issue. But not only that, he connected the empire and the kingdom so you wouldn't be biased against either or. Islam.
Islam. And y'all can see the screen still, right? The map?
Yeah, it's on there.
Okay. Islam. Yeah, exactly. Anybody else have any thoughts? Analysis? Anything?
I just have a comment, maybe, or maybe you could clarify a little more, but just the fact that he's calling us Asiatics too, so it doesn't necessarily mean the continent of Asia. All of this is, we're all Asiatics, no matter which side of the globe we're on, or planet,
Right. Because also it says Asia Major right here. Not only is this Northwest or the jurisdiction at hand, but it's also Asia Major. The sun's jurisdiction is Asia Minor. So you're correct. We're Asiatics, right? Definitely Asiatic, right?
Yeah, and I mean, like, we can get, I think you say you're going to get into it, but Africa doesn't mean what we think it does too. It's more about the people, once again, the body, than a landmass.
Right. That's why he made it clear before he kept going on. He said the true and the divine name for Africa is Amexem. Right. Yep. So if you wanna, your mind wanted to be fixed on Africa, and you can't shake it. All right. Well, we are in Northwest Africa. You're standing on it right now. North America is North Africa. Yep. Just for the people that can't shake Africa, they can't shake it. They love just Africa. All right. Well, we in Africa. You know what I mean?
Right. It's dope too because Asiatic means human. So on the metaphysical side of Noble Drew Ali, when he said the Holy Quran of Mecca and the Circle 7 Quran is the uniting of Asia, same thing with the people. Asia Major and Asia Minor, once they connect, that's the uniting of Asia.
Right.
Islam.
That's beautiful.
Actually, yeah, Africa means the same thing. It's just the body of the soul and spirit. So it's the same as Asia then.
Right. And then when you look up Africa, it's going to take you to the Latin terra, which means land anyway. So,
would that make us terrorists? That's how they want to label it, right?
Right. We terrorizing the land. Yeah. That's pseudo how they coming across with that one. But they, in actuality, they will be the terrorists. Whoever is going against divine principle, divine law, positive law, would be the terrorists.
Whatever they say is usually the opposite. So if they calling us it, it's because they it.
Right.
We breaking all kind of spells out here, yo. And that's part of taking our power back. You know what I'm saying? Doing the etymology.
Yep. Yes, sir. But yeah, I had something else queued up, but it was so small. I gotta figure out how to blow it up from that Muslim versus Muslim. But I'll try to have that prepared next time. But that's a cold book though. You know. But yeah, any thoughts? Anything? I know we're gonna pull up. We're gonna be on the top on Sunday, on top of the hill.
What? Okay.
We're gonna try it out. See what's going on. And yeah. But nobody has any more thoughts.
Yeah, I got one more. I mean, they try to sneak it in there, but with the Atlantis Islands, but this was also Atlantis. So this is where Thoth was.
They still got Atlanta, right? Atlanta.
Yep. Which used to be a lot more water there too. Atlanta's one of the highest, what do you call it, above sea level in the South.
Right. Empress Phoenix, anything stood out for you?
So I kind of like how you explained everything when you separated the map as far as father and son and old and new. That just like clicked something in my brain at this being the old land and all of the shit that's going on the other side as far as the sun side. So that's just what stood out to me.
Wow. That was the intent too. I figured like this visual. It'd be a lot of people can't conceptualize without having a visual. You know what I mean? It just helps for some people. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's easier for me to interpret stuff when I can see visual pictures. So yeah, that was dope.
Yeah, Islam. Yeah, me and Matazamaji was going over this a couple days ago, and I was like, yeah, it'd be cool to just do a demonstration. Figure it would be helpful or enlightening. Yeah. Islam. Wardell pulling up at 12, huh? Tomorrow. Oh, you probably working. All right. Oh,
My bad, man. Yeah. Tomorrow at 12 for sure.
Hey, what was that other beat? It was what was the two beats?
It was 3, no?
You got 3 verses?
There was can't remember the names. There was 3 of them you sent me. I wrote the 3 of them.